What happens when someone is deported but not sent back home? Imagine leaving the United States only to end up in a country you've never been to. With no clear future, that's exactly what is happening right now, and it is raising serious global questions. Let's watch these clips and then I'll come back with more comments.
Y'all, they just deported 15 immigrants to Congo. And these immigrants come from South America. Some of them are from Colombia. And this is what they have to say about Africa, Congo. In my country, I'm considered white, and I never been around these many Africans in my life. So that alone, it started making me feel uncomfortable and unsafe. And you mix Africans and poverty together, that's just not the American dream I was looking for. When the Trump administration said that, hey, you could go to Mexico, we'll deport you to Mexico, just sign these papers, I was like, why would I want to go to Mexico? Colombia is a better country. Why would I want to downgrade? And now here I am in Africa. Trump, what the are you smoking? So they saying that Africa is messy. It's a lot of poverty, and they don't like it. They think they live in a lie. Now, one of them had the option to be deported to Mexico, but he refused to go to Mexico. And his family is still here in the United States. So Mexico versus Congo, and you want to be close proximity to your family. It seemed like it would have been a no-brainer, but I guess he refused the deportation, being deported to Mexico, and there you have it. He even stated that it's a lot. His living conditions is a lot better than being in those asylum holding detention centers because he have a lot more freedom. But yet, water's inconsistent and the electricity is inconsistent there in the capital of Congo. But yeah, I would have signed the deportation papers to Mexico, or I would have self-deported myself. You would have got $1,000, and Lord knows what you could do in Colombia with 1,000 USD dollars. But yeah, they saying it's a nightmare.
15 people who were deported from the United States have arrived in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. The deportees landed in the capital, Kinshasa, overnight Thursday to Friday as part of an agreement between the U.S. and the DRC. The first group, that includes 7 women, is made up of nationals from Peru and Ecuador, a diplomatic source told the Anadolu news agency. An official at the DRC Migration Agency confirmed the arrivals but did not provide details, the Associated Press news agency reported. U.S. lawyer Alma David, who represents one of the deportees, said the deportees are all from Latin America, and the Congolese government plans to keep them in the country for a short period.
The Democratic Republic of Congo has announced it will begin receiving third country nationals deported from the United States under a new agreement with the Trump administration. In a statement on Sunday, the government in Kinshasa said the arrangement would make Congo the latest African nation to accept migrants removed from the U.S. The Ministry of Communications said the first group of deportees is expected to arrive this month, though no specific dates or numbers were provided. Officials described the agreement as a temporary measure reflecting Congo's commitment to human dignity and international solidarity. The government emphasized that the deal would not impose any financial burden on the country, noting that the United States would cover all logistical costs. Washington has signed similar third country deportation agreements with at least 7 other African states.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is now accepting deportees from the United States. They're the latest African country to accept deportees from the United States. This agreement was agreed on April 2026 to receive third country nationals deported from the United States. The United States will cover all logistical costs and the migrants who are not citizens of the DRC. The target population, the agreement applies to non-Congolese nationals whom the U.S. is deporting, specifically those who cannot be returned to their home countries for whatever reason. So this means, let's say if you're from Mexico, you could have a one-way trip, not one-way trip, but a trip to Congo. Isn't that crazy? Like, you really are a foreigner now. You really are an immigrant. Instead of being in a country right next door to your country that's kind of familiar, you all the way in Congo. You don't know what to expect out there, but yeah, this is that. And they said this is the security context is because the arrangement coincides with ongoing U.S. efforts to engage with the DRC regarding peace with Rwanda and access to, as described by, critical minerals. Minerals and peace talks. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, DRC is the latest African country to accept third national parties from the United States.
People who fled their home countries to seek safety in the United States are being sent to countries they've never lived in some cases, in most cases, never even set foot in. And there's a new destination being added to the list. It's long been one of the least developed countries in the entire world. A recent article on Al Jazeera explains that the Democratic Republic of Congo has agreed to accept third country deportees from the US under a new deal with the Trump administration. Migrants from other countries could be sent to the DRC simply because the Congolese government agreed to take them, with the US covering the full cost. According to the US Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, this practice has been systematically pursued since February of last year. The Trump administration has already reached similar deals with Ghana, Cameroon, Uganda, Equatorial Guinea, and Eswatini, among others. People put through this process have no say in where they'll be sent, and really no protection once they arrive. Legal experts and human rights groups say these transfers raise serious due process and human rights concerns, particularly when the receiving country might not be safe. In Uganda, a legal organization went to court to block the deportations, calling the practice part of what they described as transnational repression. Now, the Trump administration has reportedly spent at least $40 million to deport roughly 300 migrants to countries that they're not from. That spending shows how far this administration will go to punish people for seeking safety. Legal organizations are fighting this in court across multiple continents, and the international attention on these transfers is growing. The asylum system exists to protect people from exactly this kind of exile, and the advocates who know that law are not standing down. Look, the motions that ICE files in immigration court to try to get your case thrown out and to have you sent to places like the Congo, it can be overcome. My firm has beat this motion. Look, if the government tries to pretermit your asylum case and send you to a third country, please call an asylum lawyer immediately. I'm Brian Manning. If you need help with an asylum case or overcoming one of these motions to pretermit, please send me the word consul.
Recently, reports have emerged about migrants being deported from the United States not to their home countries, but to places like the DRC, or the Democratic Republic of Congo. And this part of growing policy approach called third country deportation, and it is becoming one of the most debated migration strategies in the world today. So here is the situation. Some migrants, many from part of Latin America, arrived in the US seeking asylum, but instead of being allowed to stay or being returned to their home countries, they are being sent to entirely different countries that have agreed to receive them. In this case, the DRC has reportedly accepted a number of deportees, and that means someone could travel thousands of miles only to be dropped in a completely unfamiliar country with different languages, systems, and even challenges. A third country is exactly what it sounds like. It's not the migrant's home country, and not the country they were trying to enter. Instead, it is a separate nation that agrees through deals or agreements to take them in. These agreements can involve diplomatic cooperation, financial support, or broader political arrangement. So this kind of policy isn't entirely new, but it is now being used in more visible and controversial ways. So supporters of this approach argue that it helps manage migration flows, it reduces pressure on asylum systems, and it creates alternative destinations when deportation back home isn't possible. But critics say It may place migrants in difficult or unstable environments. It can create legal uncertainty, and it raises questions about long-term solutions. So, why the Democratic Republic of Congo? The answer likely comes down to agreements between countries or even governments. Countries may agree to accept migrants in exchange for support economically, politically, or strategically. And however, the DRC itself faces its own internal challenges, which is why this decision has drawn so much attention internationally. This is where things get complicated. Some reports suggest that migrants arriving in the DRC may face temporary housing situations, limited legal status, uncertainty about what comes next. They may not be fully settled, but also may not have a clear path to return or move elsewhere. So they end up in a kind of legal and personal limbo. This situation isn't just about one country or one group of people. It reflects a larger global shift in how migration is being handled around the world. Governments are experimenting with external processing, third country agreements, and stricter border policies. So the big question is this a temporary solution or the future of migration policy? This is a complex issue with strong opinions, all sides, and it is still developing. What do you guys think about third country deportations? Is it a practical solution or does it create challenges? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below and kindly remember to keep it respectful. And if you want more breakdowns like these, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our family. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.